Hello and welcome to my training program. This is my 365-day training program for the sport of wrestling. Now, I'm going to start off with my program goals. My program goals go as the following. 1, I want to keep my athletes healthy. This goes without saying. You always want to keep your athletes healthy. They only have one body. It's going to mean a lot if you can keep that athlete moving functionally, moving well without pain. The athlete's going to be a better athlete. The athlete's going to be a happier athlete, therefore making their productivity better and making themselves a better athlete. Second goal for my program will be don't let athletes fall below 20% of their deadlift max throughout the season. I feel this is important because deadlift really shows strength. And if you can keep your athletes strong enough during season while they're cutting weight, while they're doing practices, while they're doing cardio practices, if you can keep them to not fall below 20% of what they were doing at the beginning of the year, I feel that's great. They're maintaining strength. They're getting down to weight. They're getting in wrestling shape. They're going to be able to retain stuff, and that'll show me what I need to do in order to keep them on the right track to retain their strength. My third goal will be maintain their pull-up max. Now, when I test, it will be their max repetitions in pull-ups. I feel this is very important because pull-ups is a big part of wrestling. It's a lot of body weight. It shows just, again, how strong you are. It doesn't show if you can, explode or anything. It just shows how strong you are. And as a wrestler, I feel that's very important. I'll get into that later, though. I'll test for that, and I'm going to try and keep them at the same level for that to make sure, again, we're not falling below where my athletes were because I want them to be able to make weight and continue to stay strong. My fourth goal now is to lower the body fat composition of my athlete. I feel this is important simply because you want to get rid of the fat, make my athlete more lean, therefore giving them more weight to have as muscle. In wrestling, fat is kind of a killer because it's just extra weight that's not needed. Has no function for the has a little bit of function for the athlete if you want to talk about energy and body source for the fuel. But I mean, everybody's going to have enough fat for that unless you're a real freak. I mean, we talk about body fat percentages. Most wrestlers are in a healthy range. Some fall below, you could say, when we start cutting. But most of the time we're at a good range, and my goal would be just to lower it to a wrestling healthy range. I mean, it's going to be lower than the average healthy range, but that's just because we're going to be athletes. And last but not least, my final goal for this program will be increasing the VO2 max. I feel this is important because in wrestling, in my paper, I talked about how wrestling is such a dynamic sport. There's everything in wrestling. You have the long period, you have the short bursts in the period, you have the different types of holds in the period, the different types of explosions, different positioning. Wrestling's totally dynamic. I feel like there's no other sport like it. Increasing your VO2 max will obviously help your athlete. It'll make them be able to go harder and go longer without as much energy. Or oxygen, I'm sorry. Next. Like I said, my sport is wrestling. It's one of the oldest sports known to man. I participated in myself my whole life. Very complex sport, as I just stated. Wide range of movements and positions. It's really big on both aerobic and anaerobic energy systems, which is why it's so complex, I feel like. And something I want to point out is with wrestling, I personally feel that muscular endurance is one of the highest and one of the most underlooked aspects of the game. If you can outwear your opponent, you can beat him. If you can break your opponent, you can beat him. And that's just being able to go. And people underestimate that, and sometimes people gas out, and you'll see good wrestlers lose to wrestlers who are clearly not as good as them, but just have a better gas tank. Next. My lifting philosophy for my program, with wrestling being such a complex sport, I had to make it a little bit of a complex lifting program. Now, by complex, I don't mean a bunch of different science and everything. I just mean like different sections. There's many different types of movements in wrestling. I mean, you have holds, you have explosion, you even have some grinding, where they're pulling against you, you're pulling against them. So I decided to try and get everything in there that could possibly help my athlete. I went with body weight stuff, or body weight exercises, Body weight exercises is my lifting philosophy because wrestlers need that. I mean, you're always moving your body, you're always moving somebody else's body. It gets the muscle strong without putting on a lot of mass. It gets you used to like how to move a body, how to balance a body. I also added concentric and eccentric lifting because that's the stable of getting stronger. I also included Olympic lifting. This I feel is very important as well. All three of these are very important, obviously, or else they wouldn't be in my philosophy. The Olympic lifting helps with explosiveness and power, and that'll really help the athlete. Next. Now on to my cardio philosophy. I sound like a record player, but wrestling is a complex sport. I mean, there literally is everything. This one, for cardio, it utilizes both anaerobic and aerobic exercise. Sometimes you're going to be able to have oxygen to breathe, and you're going to be just going at a pace. Other times you're going to be exploding through you could be in a scramble for 5 to 12 seconds where you don't even breathe. That's where the anaerobic comes in. I will use long runs, which is the aerobic exercise, to help my athletes lose weight and work on their cardio a little bit. Most of their cardio work will come from sprint workouts, which will also increase their VO2 max, and that is anaerobic. Now on to my injury prevention program. Best way to help an athlete not get injured, I feel like, is a healthy warm-up and a healthy cool-down. My warm-up will be a light jog and dynamic stretching lasting anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes. It'll include many different plyometric exercises, and that'll be before practice. At the end of practice, we will do a cool down. This will also be a light jog with static and PNF stretching. This will be lasting anywhere from 15 to 25 minutes. The reason I want to add this cool down there at the end of practice is because it'll help rid the body of any lactic acid or pooled blood that can be found from those strenuous activities. I will also do my best to educate the athletes that I'm training about personally preventing injuries themselves. That includes icing and foam rolling and just a healthy nutrition and taking care of their body. It's their job as much as it is mine, as much as it is the trainers. If they feel something, they need to be proactive about it as well as I do, as well as the trainers do. And the best way to do that would be communication and just being open and working through problems as a team. Next. Now my phases of the program go as following. I have my off-season program, my preseason program, during season, the championship season, and then the postseason. Wrestling is a very long, very long, grueling season. It lasts 6 months out of the year, and most wrestlers don't even stop after that because you can go into freestyle and Greco, and there's even folk style during the summer. I personally have wrestled many summers. I've wrestled all year long for a long time, and honestly, I think that's the best way to do it. With it being such a long season, you do need breaks, though. I understand that. Next slide, please. Now, first part of those phases was my off-season. Off-season, I'm going to try and cover all the bases. On Mondays, we will do power days. On Tuesdays, we will do concentric and eccentric days. Wednesdays, I will give the athlete off. Thursdays, I will be back to keep concentric and eccentric lifting. Fridays, we will do a circuit workout. Wednesdays, I'm always going to try my best to give the athlete off, especially during the off season. I don't want to stress them too much. Let them relax. Let them wrestle if they want to. I'm always going to push my athletes to wrestle as much as they can because that's how they're going to get better. I understand lifting is great, but I feel with any sport, it's my job to make them stronger. It's their job to become better athletes at their sport. I will help them, but they need to take initiative and continue practicing their sport over the summer. Next cycle. Next phase will be my preseason. This will be where I try and lose the weight that is unneeded, that they need to lose per season, depending on what weight they want to wrestle. And I will also do my best to maintain strength. I want to maintain strength throughout the entire season, but it's very important to maintain it here. I want to make sure I make the athletes lose the right weight, and they're not just starving themselves and losing muscular weight. Yep. On Mondays, I will have power training workouts. Tuesdays, I'll have long running workouts. Wednesdays, the whole team will be together. We'll do a body weight and sprint workout. Thursdays, we'll do a strength training workout. Friday, we will do a running workout. Now, this is broken up, so you're running twice a week, you're lifting twice a week, and you're doing a body weight / sprint exercise once a week. Weekends off still, preseason, don't want to stress them too much. No reason to go more than 5 days a week. We're already pushing our athletes hard. This is very similar to what I have done in college. I really like it. It's a great program. It's a great way to get our athletes in shape, both physically and mentally, going 5 days a week. Now on to the next phase, which is during season. My job during season is to enable the athletes to perform at their best ability. Plain and simple. All workouts are subject to change during a workout or during the season because I don't know what's going to happen. If an athlete's injured, if an athlete's sore, I need to be able to adjust, but I also need to be able to push them. Mondays, practice and power training workout. After their practice, I'll have them do a power training workout. This will include the Olympic lifting, trying to get their explosiveness up. Tuesdays, just practice. Wednesdays, practice and strength training. Now, strength training will be more of your concentric, eccentric lifting, just trying to maintain strength. Remember, I don't want to go below 20% of my deadlift max, and I don't want to fall even 1 rep below my pull-up max. I want to maintain that. I want to get better if possible, but I need to maintain that. I need to keep my athletes strong. That way we can make a good run through the season. Thursdays, just practice. Let the athletes rest. Fridays, we will have practice, and then right at the end of practice, we'll have a Greco bodyweight circuit. I talk about that in my paper. Greco bodyweight is something that there are circuits that I actually got to familiarize myself with a couple summers ago. They're really great workouts. They really push your body. They're really built for wrestlers. It's you and usually a partner or two. They work together in a group, and you'll do like throws, you'll do jumps over each other, you'll do push-ups with each other on your back, squats with each other on your back, partner carries. There's about 50 different workouts that you can do, and there's different ways you can mix them up, make them better, make them harder, just depending on how the athletes feel. I'll build them. Weekends are usually for competition during season. Sometimes they have them during the week. Like I said, everything's subject to change during season, but I will try and continue to push my athletes to make them maintain strength, if not get stronger throughout the season, which is very hard to do in wrestling. Next slide. Championship season. This season, as we all know, is the most important season. Regular season doesn't mean squat if you can't perform in the championship season. My job now is to peak each individual athlete for their prime performance. Each athlete gets their own plan. That's the way I'm going to break it down. Anybody in the championship season needs to have their own plan. They need to. I'll base it off of how they did in the season, how they feel, what's going on with them. I'll individually assess each and every athlete in the championship season to give them the best shot at becoming a little bit better if they need it. Of course they will. I'll focus on cardio slightly more just because, as I said earlier in my presentation, in wrestling, muscular endurance is huge. Cardio is huge. If you can outlast them, if you can outwear them, you will outwin them every single time. Now we go to the postseason. Everybody's favorite time of the year. They're all done with wrestling. They're going to be eating a lot. Every wrestler does it. Here I want them to get healthy. I want them to get big. I'm going to have a 4-week training program. Monday and Tuesday, concentric, eccentric. Wednesdays off. Thursday and Friday, concentric, eccentric. Weekends off. They're going to be building here. They're going to be building back their bodies. They're going to get their strength back. If they lost any, they're going to get all that back. They're going to try and get bigger and stronger. Next slide, please. Those were my goals throughout the season. That's my presentation. I thank you for listening. If you have any questions, please email me. I could do it again if it was not up to par. Just let me know. Thank you very much for your time. And have a good one.